And now, young Widder Brown. In spite of dire threats against her and her family, Evan Brown's friend, Noreen Temple, has told their good neighbor Mariah Hawkins what she knows about Evan's disappearance in Chicago. And realizing Evan must be in terrible danger, Mariah has been trying to reach Evan's fiancé, Dr. Anthony Loring, in Chicago, where, with Jim Morrison, he is making a fruitless search for Evan. Now, in Evan's living room, Mariah turns from the telephone to say to Noreen,
Anthony and Jim Morrison aren't at either of the Chicago hotels I just talked with, Noreen. But I left messages for both of them to get in touch with us.
All right, Mariah.
Now, the thing for you to do is go away somewhere and not tell anyone where you'll be, so that you'll be protected from these terrible people and their threats.
No, Mariah, I've been a coward long enough. I'm going to stay right here.
Oh, Noreen, you mustn't blame yourself for any of this.
Well, I do. I should have trusted Ellen and Jim Morrison. You see, I thought Jim was trying by any means at all to get Ellen to go to Chicago with him.
Well, there could have been something in that. I thought Ellen's trip to Chicago was because she was ill and afraid to tell anyone about it.
But the fact is, Ellen's husband is alive. William Brown is alive. And he's going to threaten her in some way.
That was William Brown's voice I heard in the background when Ellen telephoned a little while ago, saying no when she asked him if she could talk to you.
Ellen asking anyone what she can do or not do. It's fantastic.
Oh, I wish we could reach Anthony in Chicago. I wish he or Jim would call.
Anthony must be distracted. He must really be distracted, Mariah.
Oh, of course.
Chicago's so big. Ellen could be almost anywhere. How do police know what to do, where to begin?
Oh, they may never find her, Noreen. Oh, in the last days that you saw Ellen, did she talk to you about her husband?
Yes, a great deal.
She did to me, too. Noreen, was that before she got the letter from that law firm, or after? Do you remember?
Let me think.
I just wondered because...
It was before, Mariah. I'm sure because it was Jim Morrison who started her off thinking about William, and it had nothing to do with the letter at all. I'm sure of that.
Oh, I see.
The two things were happening at the same time. I think Jim was in love with Ellen, was trying very hard to find out about why she thought she loved Anthony.
Here we are now with her dead husband come back to life. Oh, why don't we reach those men in Chicago, Noreen? Why don't we? Why can't we locate them?
Anthony and Jim are probably trying to work with the police, Mariah. The only thing you and I can do is be patient. Be patient and wait.
And in Chicago, Anthony is talking with the Bureau of Missing Persons again. Lieutenant Harkness, who is in charge, although sympathetic to a degree, is still not encouraging, which now causes Anthony to say,
Look, Lieutenant, I know I have no right to take up your time like this. I'm sure you've got me ticketed as a complete crank.
Well, stop being apologetic, Dr. Loring. You've lost your girl, and the important thing to you is that you find her. I'm a cop. I'm here to serve the public. And if you think I think you're a crank, you're wrong.
Well, thanks, Lieutenant Harkness.
Now, so far we have a complete description of the girl, the facts about her leaving her hometown, Simpsonville, and so on. We have not, however, established the fact that she got here.
No.
So actually, she may not be in Chicago at all.
Yes, I suppose that's so.
You see, that does widen the area for search.
What about the train tickets being turned in?
Well, that wouldn't prove she stayed on the train, Dr. Loring.
Porters, conductors, and so on?
You can't expect people to remember the ordinary. A good-looking girl goes to Chicago on the night train. Nothing out of the ordinary about that.
No, of course not.
So there's nothing there. Now, from the story you gave me the first time you came to see me, it seems there was a misunderstanding between you and Mrs. Brown.
I know, and I appreciate why you used that as a reason for Mrs. Brown's coming here, but there are a couple of things I'd like to point out to you.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Ellen Brown is a singularly devoted mother. If she were well and able to, she'd be in touch with her children, and she'd never have wired home the name of a fictitious hotel as being her address here in Chicago.
All right, that's a point. It's a very small one, though, because when a woman's upset about something, she can do things that no one would have believed possible.
All right, but, Lieutenant, here are a couple of other things. I made a hurried trip back to Simpsonville, and this is what I found. Mrs. Brown's best friend, Noreen Temple, knows something. She was definitely threatened by some individual who said that if she told what she knew about Mrs. Brown coming to Chicago, something would happen to her son and to her husband.
Go on, Doctor.
Well, Mrs. Temple is in abject terror. I didn't feel that I had the right to demand that she tells me what she knows.
So?
So I went to Ellen Brown's desk and went through her private papers. I found out that she deposited $1,000 in cash in her bank, that she had received a letter in an envelope bearing the name and address of a law firm here in Chicago, and that her husband's death certificate was missing from its accustomed place.
Well, you've really started an investigation. Well, then where would Mrs. Brown get $1,000 in cash? From this tea room she runs?
Oh, never from the tea room. In the first place, she wouldn't let that amount of money accumulate.
And she got it from somewhere else, obviously. Did she sell any securities, do you know?
No, I'm pretty sure not.
And what's the answer?
I don't know, Lieutenant.
All right. I'll let that one soak. Now, this other girl, the one who won't talk.
Noreen Temple.
How hysterical a character is she by nature? How much of it could you discount on the basis of general excitement?
Oh, very little.
You see, Dr. Loring, what I'm trying to point out is that in any case, a lot of people want to get on the bandwagon. If we have a murder, we have a dozen telephone calls saying people want to confess or they saw the person who did it, and so on.
Well, Mrs. Temple is a very well-balanced, normal girl, Lieutenant. And she's afraid of someone. Someone has approached her since Mrs. Brown went away and made her keep silent about Mrs. Brown's reasons for going. Of that, I'm convinced.
What did you do about looking after Mrs. Temple?
Our local police are being very cooperative.
Good. Well, I may take it with a grain of salt. I'd be the last person to take a chance on a thing like that. Where are we? We have a couple of more facts, but Oh, just a second. Hello? Oh, yes, he's here. Put it right through.
For me?
They're switching a Simpsonville call to you here, Doctor.
Simpsonville?
Yes.
Then something's happened.
Pick up that phone. If it's significant in any way, something I should hear, you tell me.
All right. Hello?
Anthony, it's Mariah Hawkins. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mariah. Of course I can hear you.
They said you were at the police station, Anthony, are you?
Yes?
Well, good, because now you can tell them to get started and get busy. Noreen's told me everything.
Get on the other telephone, Lieutenant. It seems Noreen Temple is talking now.
Noreen's too upset to talk herself, Anthony, but this is what she wanted me to tell you first. Are you listening?
Go on, Mariah.
First, about the $1,000. The man who gave that to Ellen is the man who says he's going to kill Noreen's little boy.
Now, Mariah, wait.
Tell her to calm down and tell you facts one by one, Dr. Loring.
Yes, Lieutenant. Mariah, look. Begin at the very beginning. What did Noreen tell you about Ellen?
Ask her how the thing started.
How did it all start, Mariah?
Anthony, it all started when Ellen got that letter from Chicago about her husband being still alive. That's how it all started.
And while Anthony is shocked into silence as he hears this news, Ellen herself is sitting at a desk in the great house where she is being kept a prisoner by the man who wishes to assume the identity of her dead husband. A piece of paper before her, a pen in her hand, as she writes.
Dearest Anthony, I don't even know if you'll ever see this letter, but somehow it comforts me to know that at least I will have put on paper a lot of things about you and about me that needed to be straightened out before I got into this hideous situation. Anthony, I got a letter from a law firm in Chicago saying my husband was alive and wanted to divorce me. I didn't go to you about it, dear, because then, if you recall, we were so estranged. Of course, right now, if you were only near me, I should feel safe. Right now, I'm high up in an ugly brownstone house in Chicago, and the man who calls himself William Brown is about to make me marry him. And it's all going to happen, though it seems fantastic. And it's happening to me, and there seem to be no more quiet days ahead of me, no more simple happiness. This is happening, and I'm living it, Anthony, and I don't know what to do. Once in a far country, I was a happy person, in love with a good man, and there were years ahead that looked fine. Now there's this deceit and fear, and if I ever come home, more fear, growing fear and self-contempt. Anthony, oh, I can't write it. It's no use. I can't write it.
Down what new avenue of search will Mariah's telephone call send Dr. Anthony Loring in his desperate seeking for young Widder Brown?